Boy, did I get the deal of a lifetime, guys. Landed myself one of these Bushnell TRS-25s. Free 99. Actually, it was a gift. A buddy of mine, who's a cop, ended up getting them at a very highly discounted price. I think they were doing some kind of a promo thing for his department, so he ended up getting them, I think, for like 20 bucks. So he bought a whole boatload and gave them out as gifts. Jackpot. So I want to talk about it. You know, this is probably one of the most popular red dots on the market. It's also one of the most famous for being high quality at such a low price. And I just want to give you my quick opinion on it. We're not going to go over all the specs and all that stuff because this thing has literally been reviewed probably, 5,000 times on YouTube. So we know what it is. It's small, it's tiny, it's a red dot, it's cheap. Okay, so what do we need to know about it? What's my opinions? I think this is not bad at all, guys. I would run this on anything. I've seen tons of torture tests of these. These things hold up very well. Plenty of guys who run these on ARs, AKs. I've even seen video of guys running these on shotguns. They are pretty decent for the money. Now, one of the interesting thing about cheap optics, and I've done videos on cheap optics before, is that you often get, it's very difficult to judge inexpensive optics because they often get very bad reviews. And lots of times those bad reviews are because of user error. People who don't quite understand how to sight in a rifle, people who don't understand things like astigmatism and all that. So when I look at this objectively, and I say the build quality, when I look at how stable it mounts, when I look at the brightness of the dot and the quality of the dot, I gotta say this is pretty good. It is, I'd say, 8/10 the quality of a Vortex. It's not 100% obviously, but it's pretty darn good. Now, as I mentioned before, things, what you're going to see is you're often going to have trouble with reviews. And if you look on like Amazon and places like that, often what you're going to see is people saying, I bought 3 of them and all 3 broke. It's garbage. Go buy a loophole. All right, number one, there are trolls on the internet who are paid to do this. They literally go, and if you look at reviews and you study them and you review gear like I do, you will see a common denominator, which is that people have that same comment on different products. And it is always, I've bought 3, all 3 were broken. I bought this more expensive product and was super happy. It's, sorry guys, it's just the way things work. So a lot of times when you go through and you'll read this, you will see that exact wording. I bought 3 and all 3 were broken, so I bought this more expensive one. Dead giveaway that it's a fake review. Number 2, you often see people complain that they can't sight these in. Well, number 1, a lot of people when you go to the range, you'll see they try and sight rifles in while standing up, and that's never going to happen. You really need to get your gun down into a stable position so that you can fire accurately. And I really hate that because you see people who give optics bad reviews, and they're literally trying to sight it in while standing up, and nobody's that stable in order to properly sight in an optic from that. And people will say, well geez, it won't hold 0. It's no, you need to shoot from a stable platform. Sorry. The fuzzy dot, so we're going to turn this thing on. We'll turn it on bright so hopefully you can see. Now once I get this lined up, you can see we have a very big dot in there, and there is glare on it, so obviously it's tough to say with the camera. Now when I look at this, I see a fuzzy dot. Now there's a reason why, guys, I see a fuzzy dot, and it's because I have an astigmatism. Now when I look at this at the lower setting, which really isn't even showing up on camera, we'll turn that up a few more. It's better for me. I can see the dot and it's not so fuzzy to me. Now here on the camera viewfinder, of course, there's still a little bit of glare on there obviously, but you can see that optic is actually pretty clear. When you hold this up, it's not significantly dimmer from the area around it. Yeah, it is a little bit dimmer, but not a ton. And the dot is, right there, and it's not too fuzzy. Now when I look at this, I see a pretty sharp dot. Now there's a big difference, guys, with this when I wear my glasses versus when I wear my contacts, and that's because of an astigmatism. If you have an astigmatism, it will make things that are small, like points of light, look blurry to you. So you'll often find those reviews that say, the dot was really blurry, I sent it back, and I bought this, other thing, and it was fine. Now, what happens is that oftentimes cheaper optics can amplify the effects of that astigmatism. Now, really good, super high quality optics, obviously, because they are super high quality, you're not going to have as much error and as much problem with it, so you're not going to notice it as much. But I've looked through, expensive rifle scopes and cheap rifle scopes, and they all look blurry when I don't have my glasses on. Now, like I said, my glasses correct for my astigmatism, my contacts don't. So with my glasses, everything looks nice and sharp in this. I look through it and it looks like a very nice sharp point. With my contacts, it looks a little bit fuzzy. So that is one thing to pay attention to, guys. You may have an astigmatism and that may affect your viewing. And that can also affect it with, if you have higher quality optics, it may not be as pronounced. So very important. I think the range of brightness is very good on this. You can see pretty good in daytime. Now, full bright sun, obviously, it's not going to be the greatest of all, but overall, guys, these are very capable, small little red dots. And you have to bear in mind that with any cheap optic, you're going to have to take things into consideration that some of the people who are using and reviewing these things just don't know exactly what they're doing. And in the end, when you look at the positive reviews of people who've tortured these things and done a lot with them, it really goes to show. So with any optic, you always have to be careful because people really like mount scopes poorly. They really sight them in poorly. And then even then, a lot of people just don't have the wherewithal to use Loctite on the screws, and these things come loose and they rattle, and people just have all kinds of problems because they just don't mount scopes very well. And the same comes with these. Lots of times people tighten these down. It's a part in motion, guys. You're gonna have to tighten these things up from time to time. You're gonna have to resight them from time to time. That's just the nature of the game. And to think that you're gonna be able to put this on your gun and 10 years later it's still gonna be, sighted in, it's just not gonna happen, guys. So there it is, the Bushnell TRS-25. I like it, and for me, I think this is a nice little optic I'm going to use as a little backup. And yeah, I guess for the money, I'd say this is definitely a purchase as far as I'm concerned.